Let's see. So we've got King Captain here with a PB of 40 minutes flat as of last week, according to speedrun.com. And on Shredberg's side, we have a PB of 54:18, so those are the times to beat, folks. Shredberg running on Switch here, and King Captain on PC. So we see these folks starting to jump here in the prologue. That's just a means of faster movement. Before we get our dash here momentarily, the bird gives us all the info we need, and we're off and running. And that is the prologue. We're going to see these folks sync up momentarily. Usually there's just a little bit of desyncing going on here, but that should be resolved soonish. So we got 7 chapters, and this is the first one here, Forsaken City. This is where we start to get into some of the nitty-gritty tech here. You'll see King Captain doing up first here. You'll see him dashing through these stages, doing these wall bounces here, and gaining a ton of extra height. In many cases, I'm just straight up skipping the intended platforming, as you just saw in those last couple of screens. And you'll also be seeing Hyper Dash here from King Captain. Nails it. It's a pretty tricky one. He has to like reverse direction in order to pull that off. But you pull off a hyper by inputting a down and either right or left while dashing. And then you input a jump and you go flying. And that's kind of one of the fastest means of getting around in the game. So you'll see these folks doing that all over the place during this run. And we have King Captain currently on a really nice tear through this first chapter here. Kind of crushing it at the moment. Shredberg holding his own as well here. I think Shredberg is fairly new to the game. I know him from Super Meat Boy. It's kind of both of our main games, so it's cool that we've had some representation from the Meat Boy community in this tournament. You'll also see iCod and Vorpal kind of representing the community as well in their matches later on. We have King Captain wrapping up Forsaken City here, and moving right along to Old Site, the second chapter, where Madeline falls asleep and get introduced to a brand new mechanic. So we'll be seeing these kind of weird gray blocks here. Those will light up momentarily once we get to a cutscene and get to do some fun stuff with them. As we have Shredberg here, wrapping up with the kind of intended finish to this chapter. There is a kind of a trickier strat. I don't know if King Captain went for it, but I'm guessing he did. Where you just go up the left side of that last screen before the final cutscene of Forsaken City. And here we have the dream blocks. Runners often cite this as one of their favorite mechanics in the entire run. It makes a very short appearance here, but we'll see more of it kind of later on in the run. And we have our first introduction here to Battleline, the primary antagonist of this game here. She's going to be chasing King Captain through these dream block sequences, and she's on a 3-second delay, so basically everything that you do, she will mirror 3 seconds after the fact. Which you're seeing right now. And we have Shredberg here, just entering the first dream block section himself. And here we have King Captain here, moving right along through the second to last screen of the fighting sequence here. Taking a rough death there kind of towards the end. This is a rather long screen, so any kind of death can result in a few seconds lost here. He's going to opt to do the intended way, which is considerably slower. And makes it through. Now the Battlelands kind of stopped chasing him at this point, so he's just going to kind of cruise to the finish line here. On pretty decent pace at the moment through these first couple of faster chapters. despite having kind of a rough death there at the end of the battle in sequence. Shredberg himself kind of gaining a little bit of ground here on King Captain as he moves into the final screen of the battle and fight. And he's going to get that small dev-intended skip there, his first try. Can he wrap up the screen without dying? It looks like he can. And he's through. All right, so it tightened up a little bit there. Shredberg reaching the end of the dream sequence himself here, as King Captain's going to move ahead to Celestial Resort. This is kind of one of the dreaded chapters in the run. There's lots of cycle-based stuff going on here. With the dust bunnies, which you see, those red and black kind of blobby guys. Some folks call them dust bunnies. I don't know, they have like a billion different names, but dust bunny seems to be the most common one. And so this chapter is very cycle-based, and you're gonna just want to try to get stuff the first time so you don't have to keep retreading your steps. And the cycles are slightly different in a lot of these screens the second time you do them, so that can really mess with the runner's strats that they have in mind. And working his way down here through the end of this first part of Celestial Resort, encountering Oshiro here as he dashes through that screen without an issue. We have Shredberg here, just entering the resort himself. Oh, King Captain I know too. King Captain was, I believe he was in the End is Nigh community as well. So both of these folks have some experience with the act of speedrunning at this point. So, but I believe King Captain's been at this particular game for quite a bit longer than Shredberg. So he's gonna King Captain over here is gonna wrap up the first part of the Celestial Resort and move into the second part, Huge Mess, which has 3 branching paths. He's gonna kind of meander through. I believe each of these 3 areas that he's about to enter have 4 rooms. I think, to my knowledge. The books section up top might have 1 more, but I'm not 100% sure. But in any case, it looks like we have a small hiccup here on King Captain's screen, so let's turn our attention to Shredberg's screen, as he is just getting the last key of this first section of Celestial Resort himself, hitting all those switches. And let's see if he does the extended hyperdash strat here at the bottom of this stage, instead opting for the intended crystal strat there. We have King Captain going for a spike jump here. The spikes actually don't kill you if you're facing in the direction that they're pointing, so that allows us to basically do wall kicks off of them in a number of different parts of this run. And King Captain here crushing the first section of Huge Mess, tidying things up just a wee bit here. And he's going to go upstairs next to the books section. Tentatively the easiest of these 3 areas. There's not a whole lot you can mess up here. Some small like optimization errors, but and maybe this last room can pose a challenge to some runners, but let's see how King Captain does here. He's going for an extended hyper where he preserves his dash, and looks like he might have pulled it off there. Pretty tricky strat. Looks like he got through it without too much issue there. As Shredberg here on the right is just wrapping up the first section. A really tricky section to optimize, especially because you have all of this junk kind of in the main hub of this section. Can result in kind of any number of headaches as you're trying to traverse through this very messy section. As King Captain wraps up the laundry room in the blink of an eye, that was really fast. He's going to be moving right along to the elevator shaft portion here, where it's a little bit more linear. And there's some challenging rooms up here. Starting with this first one, he's going to try to mosey his way past these dust bunnies moving up and down. Goes for a bit of a safe strat there, just kind of hedging his bets, it looks like. Gets through that switch room no problem, and now he's cruising along through this pretty long room. Yeah, you can. There are a number of places where you can take pretty costly deaths in this room just because it's kind of a longer room. So he took a death towards the middle there. There's a bounce strat you can go for. He's opting to try it, but oh, just comes within an inch of getting it, but just doesn't quite make it. So we have Shredberg over here on the right, moving through the laundry section. Okay, deciding to play it safe after, I think, going for what looked like a bounce strat there. And he's pulling off these bounces. Ooh. Pulling off these bounces in this room. Let's see how he goes the second time around. No problem there. Shredberg now wrapping up the huge mess portion, moving himself into elevator shaft. KingCaptain looks like he's going for a slightly easier cycle for this room of hypers. You have to do 4 hyper dashes in a row in order to get a good cycle there. Grab the key. KingCaptain looks like he's coming up on the final sequence of this chapter 3. Shredberg tailing close behind. These rooms look kind of similar, which is pretty funny. But Shredberg's actually a few rooms behind at the moment. As KingCaptain here, starting the Oshiro fight. You know, I talked about cycles earlier, and the cycles just kind of become a lot more intense here in this last section. So he's got to watch out and make sure that he just kind of gets things the first time, because these death cycles can be pretty hit or miss, depending. Clearing most of this fight so far without much of a problem. Opting to go over those dust bunnies up there. I'm not sure that I've seen that before, but clever strat. Oh, tough death at the end there. KingCaptain looks like he's been having a bit of just an unfortunate time in terms of getting deaths kind of at the end of these levels that are already pretty long to begin with. And Shredberg actually starting the Oshiro fight as KingCaptain enters the last room here. Let's see how they fare. KingCaptain taking a death here. I know for some folks it's a little bit easier to go for the death cycle on this one, believe it or not. But looks like he's just kind of taking his time here. Not going for anything too crazy. You know, there's some swag like extended hypers you can do, and I think he's just kind of trying to push past this rather rough chapter 3 and see what's in store for chapter 4. And Shredberg right now crushing this this Oshiro fight here, as he's going to move into the penultimate room in just a moment, provided he doesn't get conked in the head by Oshiro. He's good though. All right. Both of these folks know their cycles pretty well. They're displaying that very nicely here with these resort performances. All right, so we're going to get some wind action going on in KingCaptain's screen here. This really messes with the physics for this particular chapter. It's very inconsistent. Sometimes there's no wind at all, like in this room, and then other times it just kind of kicks up, and you got to just kind of know how intense it's going to be. KingCaptain going for a nice hyper strat there on that platform room. See how he does with the bubble strat. I've seen folks do this room any number of ways at this point, and KingCaptain going with a little nifty strat there. Getting the cloud room first try. In my race that I just did, I spent like 3 minutes on that room, so props to KingCaptain. And we have Shredberg here entering Golden Ridge himself. KingCaptain going for a nice spike jump there, getting it first try. Similar to the one that we saw in Chapter 3. All right. Let's see if he does the auto-scroller skip here. Opting not to. Okay. Only saves a couple seconds, so props for making responsible decisions, I guess. Shredberg moving through a very underrated room there. That's just kind of a nice little piece of platforming with some light wind before this double switch room. He's going to move into the cloud room himself. opting for a safer strat that I certainly should have gone for myself in my run. He gets a first try. He's going to move along to the second section of Golden Ridge. Again, not too far behind King Captain at this stage, as King Captain's reckoning with some bubbles here. These bubbles kind of spit you out, depending on the direction that you're holding. And we mostly use those in kind of the intended ways, as far as I can really tell. There's not too much fancy stuff you can do with them. You can kind of cancel out of them a little bit earlier and just save a few animation frames, I guess, here and there. All right, let's see how King Captain does with the second auto-scroller here. Is he going to just opt to ride the platform to the top? Looks like he is. No auto-scroller skips for this guy, playing very conservatively in that kind of race mode of things right now. And King Captain's just now running into this final section. The wind is super strong here, really pushing you back until the last room where it jettisons you forward. And there are snowballs too that can just bonk you right in the face. Never a good time. Oh wow, King Captain cruising through that room with a series of wave dashes. Wave dashes being the same thing as hypers, you just do them in the air. And this room's really tricky because you have to deal with those little trampolines while you're dealing with pretty nasty wind. King Captain almost gets through this really nasty room first try. Let's see how he does the second time around. Oh, really tough deaths with these snowballs at the end. Let's see. He gets there. Those wave dashes are really tricky because you just have that one little tile of pillar to reckon with. So it can be a bit of a headache. As King Captain cruises through this last room of Golden Ridge here with what looks like a 4-1X Golden Ridge. Pretty solid. Pretty solid. As we have Shredberg here, coming up on the end himself. He's also in the final section. Keeping it definitely within arm's reach of King Captain at the moment. And I think if he has a really clean finish here, he could maybe gain a little bit of ground on King Captain here. Because King Captain had a couple of these really tough deaths in the snowball area. And it looks like Shredberg's having kind of a similar fate going on here. So King Captain moving into Mirror Temple now. He's doing a very nice wave dash strat. Pretty tricky to execute in your first try. He got it without any issue. Going for a rather small skip in that room there, just to save a small cycle. He gets there eventually. He's going to mosey off to the right here, and this is really just kind of the intro section to Mirror Temple. Kind of a low-key part of the run before things kind of get a little bit more claustrophobic with some enemy sequences coming up. And Shredberg moving right along here through the end of Golden Ridge, just a couple more screens to go. He's going to go for an attempt at a cloud skip there. He looks like he kind of stumbled a little bit, but he got there eventually. And he's going to move to the last room of Ridge himself, see if he gets it first try. Yeah, opting to play it safe. He's playing seemingly pretty similar to King Captain at the moment, just like not really risking too much. He just wants to maybe get a little PB action going and just kind of see where his safer play can take him right now as he enters Mirror Temple himself. King Captain moving through a rather tricky bubble section here. I think he took a death there the first time around. These cycles at the end are pretty obnoxious, and sometimes you have to wait up for him if you're movement isn't spot on, but he got there eventually. He's gonna open up this next part of the run, in which we're introduced to the Seekers, these enemies that we briefly control with this little bizarro, like, nightmare sequence. And he crushes that section in just a few seconds. It's always a little bit awkward because that's the only point in the run in which you control the Seekers, and I don't know. It's just a little bit more chaotic than Madeline's dash. It's just faster and a little bit less predictable. But King Captain definitely displayed his competence there with the Seeker tech, as he moves into unraveling. What was once a very open chapter is now quite claustrophobic, and we have these enemies that just kind of lock on to Madeline's position every once in a while and try to see if they can get a little attack going. So he's going to go for the bounce strat here. It looks like he's opting for something that's slightly slower, but perhaps a little bit safer. Wall bounces are a little bit tricky to finagle in that room, so. And looks like he, again, opting for a more conservative strat there, but he's crushing these rooms without much of an issue. He's going to already be moving into the last room of unraveling here. Really nice manipulation of that Seeker to crush that block. He's going to probably, use that to his advantage here. But I think he's taking a slightly different route now. Ooh, tried to bonk the Seeker there just to temporarily stun him, but no dice. As Shredberg himself is moving through the little Seeker nightmare sequence. Again, without too much of an issue. It's such a short part of the run, but it's very unique because, again, it's the only time we really deal with that kind of character movement. King Captain just wrapped up unraveling. He's going to be moving into the search section, which we skip entirely. A little bit of fancy maneuvering. Another dev-intended skip here, coming up on King Captain's screen. No doubt in my mind that he's going to go for it. Yeah. Most runners seem to have this tournament. Struggling a little bit there on the first attempt. Let's see how he does on attempt number 2. You have to dash to the right and then jump left. They have to be distinctly separate inputs, I believe, in order for that skip to work. But he got there eventually. And on Shredberg's screen, we have Shredberg moving about halfway through unraveling right now, doing a nice little hyper strat off of that Seeker to stun him. And he's going to be moving into the last room of unraveling himself. Looking like he's just kind of... this room's really interesting because you usually just have to like improvise it, really, most of the time. The best laid plans really just don't really pan out most of the time. So Shredberg gets through there. Looks like the Seeker was hot on his tail, but he got through it. He's going to be coming up on search skip himself momentarily, so we'll keep our eye out for that as King Captain enters the Theo section. Dreaded section for newcomers, but it's allegedly pretty easy to get consistently after a certain point. It's another area with pretty unique movement. You just kind of have to dash, jump, and throw, and get into kind of a rhythm with this this little, I don't know, mirror block that we have here with our buddy Theo, who got himself into a world of pain. Now we're trying to get him out of it. King Captain's struggling to get that switch up there. This is one of those rooms where, like, I don't know, it kind of depends on what you do. You can get a little bounce off of that Seeker there to just move right to the switch there, but I think it's a little bit tricky to do on the fly. And I believe we missed Shredberg nail search skip, but given that he's already on the Theo section, I'm sure he got it without too much of an issue. All right, King Captain coming up on a cool room here. Getting part of the fast dash movement there, but not necessarily the fullest extent. You can just whip to the end of that room and cruise into the next one in an ideal world, but... And going for a nice little jump sequence there where he just kind of carries Theo over that section that you're normally supposed to drop him off at on that little dash block. And King Captain's wrapping up Mirror Temple here, entering the last room. You just got to survive these waves of, I don't know, sound? I have no idea what these waves are. Just changes in atmospheric pressure. Really finessing that room pretty nicely. That's a really tricky room where like you can get caught in a bunch of gaps and stuff, and he did quite nicely there. Shredberg struggling with that dash block room I was talking about where you can just whip to the end of it. It's a pretty bizarro set of inputs you have to do. You have to like basically dash, jump, and grab Theo basically all at the same time. So if you're not used to that particular set of inputs for that one part of the run, it's going to kind of screw you up a little bit. And King Captain here is moving into Reflection, Chapter 6. Not going for the fabled lake skip here, where you just kind of stick to the left of the room and jump your way up through a very, very specific jump that I believe only has a couple of pixels of wiggle room, if not 1 pixel. It's really precise. I haven't really looked into it myself, so I don't really know the hot details, but it's pretty hype if people get it. All right, and King Captain now showing off the feather mechanic here. Basically, you work your way up to those feathers, and then you just kind of fly through a lot of these rooms. He's gonna do a little skip. Normally there's a feather you have to grab off to the left there, and well, not today for King Captain. I've seen a couple of runners in this tournament so far go for that feather off to the left, and some I don't know, it's cool to see both sides of things, like the folks who aren't really that confident in their wall jumping quite yet, so they just got to do like a backup, and the folks who are pretty skilled. It's not an easy jump sequence to get. All right, sailing over these little bumper enemies here. Traditionally, you hit those guys and they kind of jettison you into any number of different directions, but you can just skip them in that room. Shredberg here is moving into the first room of Reflection proper itself here. This is all leading up to a very extended boss sequence. Shredberg's been keeping it close so far this race. Their PBs are quite differently if we go off of what's on speedrun.com, so it's cool to see these guys kind of in the same chapter at this point. Really really impressive show from Shredberg in particular here. Very likely on PB pace at the moment, if he can keep it up. And King Captain here, wrapping up this this first part of the Reflection chapter. Now we're moving into these rooms that are partially obscured by the presence of Badelin's very long hair. Just a kind of cool aesthetic. He's going to go for a skip here where he goes down and actually just moves right along to the left there. There's a slightly faster way you can do it if you go like right through the middle of those little I don't even know if they're like flowers or spikes. I don't know. In my mind they're spikes, but I don't know. You can go right through the middle of that section and I think it's just a couple seconds faster. And King Captain very quickly approaching the fight sequence at the end of this chapter. This is where the play kind of slows down, and the name of the game is really just about accuracy with hitting Battleon. Just you have to be a little bit calculated in your movement compared to other parts of the run where it's just kind of a non-stop dash fest, I guess. There's a good amount of dashing in this section too, but it's but the accuracy is really important here. Shredberg going for a fun little skip there on the right. Just dashing under that grumble block, Kevin block, whatever you want to call it. All right. King Captain cruising through this first part of the battle and fight here. Still holding on to a pretty secure lead here at the moment. Really not encountering too much of an issue at the moment. This is one of those areas where if you just kind of know where Battleon's going to go, kind of removes a lot of the difficulty curve of it. Moving through this bumper room pretty nicely. Playing rather cleanly at the moment. Yeah, Shredberg here is entering the Battleon hair section. Also opting to go off to the left here. Instead of taking the middle route. The middle route? What was that? The middle route. That's what I meant to say. Alright. And with that, King Captain's wrapping up this first longer section of the Battleon fight and moving right into the second section. Looks like a... what is that? I think that's like a 5:52 at the moment. Pretty good pace. This last section is actually, in my opinion, a little bit more straightforward than the first section. The rooms just aren't as demanding, and there are fewer of them too. So this fight's actually almost over for King Captain at the moment. On quite a tear through this chapter at the moment. Shredberg moving into the battle and fight himself. Again, these runners have just been kind of staying at least within the same section of the run for basically the entire race. Shredberg definitely holding his own. Let's see how King Captain wraps up this last room of the battle and fight. No problem there. Looking at about a low 7 reflection. That is a sturdy time on behalf of King Captain. I believe a new IL record was set earlier today at like a 5:48 or something like that. So, you know, definitely within a minute and a half there, so that's pretty good for an RTA run. Very solid reflection on behalf of King Captain. Let's see how Shredberg wraps up here. I believe still kind of moseying his way through this first phase of the fight. But moving right along himself. If he has a good summit, this could definitely be a sub 50. For Shredberg. King Captain, I think at this point PB is just a little bit out of the question for him if it's a 40 flat. I don't know if his PB's changed since then, but he would have to have like the summit of his life in order to pull off a sub 40 at the moment. Still a very decent pace for sure. Alrighty. King Captain moving through the 500-meter section with, the summit base without much of an issue here, moving into the 500-meter section, where we see a quick reprise of all of the chapters we've seen up to this point, starting with the first one, Forsaken City. Doing a very nice wall bounce there. Unfortunately, doesn't get quite the height that he needs to extend all the way up there. See how he does the second time around. Oh, that was beautiful. Excellent move from King Captain. Shredberg here, also now in the second phase of the battle and fight here. So quickly approaching the end of Reflection himself. Looking like if he really rushes here, he could maybe pull off like a sub-9 Reflection. And King Captain here in the last room with 500 meters, playing it a bit safe at the end there, so as not to take a rather long death for a very small amount of time save. There's a little cycle skip you can do there. And now we have the return of the dream blocks. 1,000 meters. You know, moving through that room with a couple of nice, some nice air dashes going on there. Tricky switch room for sure. There's a lot of kind of air movement that you have to manage. Definitely showing his stuff with this dream block section. Not really making too many mistakes at the moment. He's just cruising right now. That was really fast. And he's already in the last section of 1,000 meters here. Where Battlein is now our friend after we kind of talked it out a little bit. And she kind of propels us upwards. All right, 1,500 meters. This is, I feel like you've probably heard this if you've been watching some of these Celeste tourney races, but this is kind of universally the least enjoyed part of the run for almost everybody, because these cycles are absolutely nasty that you're seeing on King Captain's screen right now. It's all about just anticipating what is going to be happening where. And King Captain moving through a really long room there, I believe getting it first try. That room is a major headache if you die at the end. Probably costs you about 10 or so seconds. And Shredberg himself now on Summit Base. He's got a 34.59 at the moment. Or sorry, he's got he's like he just passed like the 35-minute mark. What am I saying? So if his PB on speedrun.com is accurate, then this could be an insane PB from Shredberg. Kind of depending on what his summit looks like. You know, if he cruises and gets like a sub 15 summit, we could be looking at a sub 50 here. And King Captain wrapping up the last room of 1,500 here. He's going to move right along to 2,000 meters, the return of Golden Ridge. There's a fancy little auto-scroller skip coming up. We'll see if he opts to go for it, or if he plays it a little bit more conservatively. Moving through this this tricky snowball room here at the moment. It's really just about knowing, again, when the snowballs are going to launch so that you don't get bonked in the head at the wrong time. Here comes the auto-scroller room. Let's see what his approach is. Is he going for the skip? No, he's playing it safe. Not a big fan of the auto-scroller skips, King Captain. Let's see, is he going to go for the bounce? No, he's just riding that block all the way to the end. All right. Better to be safe than sorry. I'm sure that's just his mentality at the moment. if he's watching the race right now, he might be aware of the fact that Shredberg is just a couple of sections behind him at the moment. So messing around with auto scroller skip could cost him part of his lead if it goes wrong. Doing a nice little trick there with those descending blocks. If you just kind of grab onto them briefly, they don't trigger their downward motion, so you can actually just use them as if they don't move at all, which King Captain just demonstrated quite nicely. He's going to be... that was a really fast 2000. King Captain's on fire at the moment. He's going to move into the Mirror Temple return here, 2,500 meters. A couple of cool skips that go on here. Starting with this one, playing it very nicely through that first room. Where you just don't want to dash at the wrong time, because that will completely mess up the way that the room is structured, because the dash blocks kind of move to the other side. Doing a nice little wave dash off of that middle block there to cruise through that room there. He's going for key skip now. Instead of going down in this room with the bubble, he's just going to, hopefully, if all goes according to plan, he's just going to kind of move up to the top of this room. There we go, he got it. Very tricky skip. It just requires very careful placement of Madeline. Then you just input a couple of jumps and she does the rest. Looking to get a nice hyper there off of that dash block. Those always look really fun. You just kind of go flying through them. All right. Playing it safe here on this room, you can just kind of move past that second dash block. Going for the epic meme here. Door skip, gets it. No problem. Saves about a second, but wow, do Celeste runners love that skip. Big fan of that skip. All right, King Captain. Final moments of 2,500. He's going to be going to 3,000 now, the final stretch here. Lots of wall bounces going on in this first part. Moving very nicely through the first flag there. Really nice movement going on. That was a clean first couple of flags from King Captain. You can tell that he's definitely put some time in with practicing some of the finer tuned movements here. This is obviously a part of the run that people want to just kind of master, because it's very easy to choke away a lot of time in this last section of the run, and if you're on PB pace, that's kind of the last thing you want to be doing. So you definitely see a lot of folks just grinding this out and just making sure that their movement's solid so that they don't just end up wasting a lot of time. And the general trend for this section is that as you progress through the 30 flags here, they tend to get a little bit longer in between each flag. Like the platforming sections kind of become longer and longer. So especially at the end, the deaths can be ridiculously costly. Shredberg here, going for an interesting strat here in the Golden Ridge part of Summit, doing a wave dash off of that pillar instead of the extended hyper down on the bottom, which in my mind is harder, but you know, people approach this game so differently all the time that I guess I can't really be too surprised by that. Let's see if he goes for auto scroller skip. I don't know if I saw him go for anything in Golden Ridge in terms of the auto scroller stuff. He might have, but here we see him just kind of playing it safe. Oh, he's gonna go for the bounce. Oh, unfortunately, doesn't get it. Yeah, the up platform there. Ideally, if you're not going for the skip, just kind of sticks around, but unfortunately, it got destroyed. Or sorry, the horizontal block I meant to say. the horizontal block is supposed to stick around if you're not doing the auto-scroller skip, and unfortunately, Shredberg got hit with the long death. Still doing quite nicely. This could be somewhere in the high 40 range at the moment. 48 or 49 maybe, we'll see. If not better, we'll see what happens. King Captain, final 10 flags of Summit. Spacing out these dashes a little bit more just to get a little bit more height, so he doesn't have to keep going back to that wall. All right, I believe that's flag 5. Yep, so we're definitely in the home stretch for King Captain. Shredberg not too far behind at the moment, just entering 2,500 meters. Unfortunately, dashed in the wrong direction there on King Captain's side. Something that happens all too frequently. You just want to go one way, and your controller's like, nope, we're going the other way. Taking you down with me. All right, we're looking at flag 3 for King Captain. And Shredberg here, looks like he's going for the alternate strat instead of key skip. The intended way of doing this section. As King Captain here on flag 1, the music fades and we reach the top, and that is GG for King Captain. 43-14. 43-15. 12-23 Summit too. Not a bad showing from King Captain. His PB's at a 40 flat, so might have been hoping for a slightly better outcome, but still gets the W over Shredberg here. Shredberg also going for that sweet 1 second time save. Good lord. What a madman. He's going for that second time save. Let's go. Sometimes you have to lose 30 seconds to save one, you know. Being very persistent at the moment. Not going for those wussy switches up on the top. Shredberg's definitely not a wuss. This is a no wuss zone. Making up his mind. Is he gonna... Oh, he's going for the switches now. Alright, well... Good effort from Shredberg, nonetheless. Props, dude. Alright, and here we go. So he's going to be moving on to 3,000 meters himself. Let's see. I do want to just check something real quick and see what his PB is at the moment. So I'm just going to go dark for 1 second here while I check that. As of 1:26 today, he said he has a 49.56, so he is still on PB pace at the moment. Good news. King Captain showing off the bird room there, the bird nest room, and the epilogue. Alright, can Shredberg pull off the W for himself, his personal best W? Alright, here we go. Moving through these dash crystals. Flag 24. Alrighty. It's go time. Can Shredberg pull off the PB here? He's got about 3.5 minutes. Certainly achievable. Flag 20. Opting not to go for the wall bounce strat here, just kind of hanging to those walls briefly, just to gather his bearings. And now we're in the updraft section, where we become very floaty after that downdraft section which preceded it, where we're very heavy. Trying to make up his mind whether he wanted to go for the retry there, just to reset his position, or just stay the course. Alright. Flag 15 for Shredberg. 14. This is always a very anxiety-inducing room. I think he realized he was going to run out of stamina there, so he's going to just try it again. That's the exact issue with this particular screen, is that it's very easy to just run out of stamina as you're doing that final climb before the next flag. And Shredberg here, struggling a little bit to make sure he has enough juice to make it to flag 13, which he does. It's going to be tight. We're looking at about 1:40 to go. He's going to have to get through some of these flags first try, but it might still be on the table for him. Playing the switch room kind of safely. I think he's just kind of hedging his bets right now. Doesn't want to take another death here. Flag 12. We have about a minute. PB is 49.53. Playing it safe on this room with the dash crystals. Another kind of claustrophobic section, just with a lot of spiky things everywhere you look. And we're within the final 10 flags here. I think, unfortunately for Shredberg, this might be a little bit out of reach at this point. We're going for the sub 50. But still putting on a really, really good effort. And obviously it was worth it for the door skip, if nothing else. That sweet, sweet second. Or he attempted it, but rather he didn't actually end up getting it. But, you know, gotta give him an A for effort, for sure. Final 5 flags for Shredberg. And this little updraft is kind of helping us achieve new heights. I believe from here there's no more draftiness going on. It's just all neutral. Flag 4. Showing nice feather control there to get to flag 3. Let's see how he does with this one. A little bit trickier, a little bit more technical movement here. Not an issue for Shredberg. Flag 2. Getting towards the end. Flag 2 is subtly pretty tricky. It's really the last point in the run where folks typically die. It's kind of difficult to preserve your dash because you have to gain a lot of height here just to get to the cliffside. Figuring out how he can maintain his stamina here. Big challenge. Looks like he's gonna get there. And here we go. This is going to be A good time for Shredberg. Unfortunately, no PB, but a really solid effort. Flag 1. We have reached the summit for Shredberg, and that is a 51.29, it looked like. So GG's to both the runners. Really impressive showing from both of these folks. Shredberg being relatively new to the scene, KingCaptain, I believe, a little bit more of a veteran, so we saw a little bit of different play style going on there from both of these guys. And both with a similar death count too, which is always exciting and interesting to see. Those numbers, both pretty low, actually. Sub 70 deaths. And I'm not sure if we're doing interviews, but we'll just kind of see what's going on, see if people are feeling it, but if we have a couple minutes, maybe we can squeeze some time in. Hey, what's up, Shredberg?
What is up?
How are you feeling?
That was a good run. It definitely, like, didn't get door skip. Tried to do that for the fans, but...
I mean, it was really fun to commentate that.
It was, you know what, it was worth it. I didn't do that, like, ever practice that before other than my race yesterday, and I got it, like, 4th try, so I was like, I'll do it again.
Nice, dude.
And then I was like, I'm not worried about whatever, a 50-minute PB, whatever it is.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
Just went for it. Summit, I'm just super rusty on just that whole 3,000 meters section, just... I should have PB'd that even with that, but it was just super slow.
I know. I kind of saw it slipping away from you when it was like flag 13 or something with all those switches at the end. Yeah. Flag 14.
It just kind of happens whenever I like speedrun anything longer than like 40 minutes. I just sort of get tired, you know. I need breaks.
I feel that for sure. Yeah, and there's definitely no breaks in this game, so you're kind of just left to your own devices on that front. But
yeah, but either way, it was a good run. I was happy with that run. Just a minute and a half off, but at the same time, wasted time on door skip and just, you know,
yeah,
pretty poor on some things, but it was good overall, I guess.
How many more races do you have coming up?
I have actually. I have like 3 just in the coming days. So I have one tomorrow against Valu. I think it's at 9, and then I have he's going to destroy me.
Yeah, he's the top seed in your bracket.
Yes, he is. And he had his first race today, and he played as well as I expected the top seed to play. And then I have a race against Uncle Ronnie on Saturday, and then also Rack the Kitty. I think that's how it said.
Nice. But so you're going to be busy. That's fun.
Yep.
Exciting. Yeah, I'm also kind of catching up on mine right now, so I got a lot coming up in the next few days. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, GG's, dude.
Yeah, thank you.
Very
Thanks for
fun,
commentating.
Very fun race to watch.
Great.
You guys were both kind of close, actually, for a good chunk of it.
From what I, like, because I have this stream, like, in the background, and because after my, like, Chapter 4, I was like, I can't be, this is, like, the best I've ever gotten at this point.
Yeah.
So, that was good. And then sort of, like, my Chapters 6 and 7, I already know were super slow, so, just because I just haven't grinded those out too much, so. Yeah. But I was super happy.
Nobody likes to grind reflection, let's be honest.
Yeah, it's just, oh my goodness,
not
so hard.
Not part of the run.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Hey, GG, dude. And
thank you.
See you on the, I don't know, on the next one, on the flip side.
Yep, definitely.
All right, take it easy, dude. And thanks for watching, everybody. I'm going to pass it off. I'm not sure what else is going on Speed Gaming 5, if anything, but if nothing else is going on, have a great night, y'all. And we'll see you next time. Take care.